could you say quick? Yeah. Okay. I do not measure. I'm not a baker, I'm a cooker. I like to just, dash of this, dash of that. But that drives people nuts who like to measure. So, equal parts water to powder is where you start. Now, every color is a little different. The whites require less water, and the darker colors require more water. And that's just because of the ratio of pigments to everything else. So the ingredients of milk paint are casein, which is milk protein, and that's why it's called milk paint. It's not just like a clever, I don't know, we didn't make it up. It's actually a milk-based paint. And the other ingredients are chalk, clay, limestone, which is what hardens and really makes a firm finish, and then natural pigments, and that's all that's in it. So everybody's saying, oh, our paint's no VOC and all that. It's like, ours is like all natural, so so that's our, that we can tout that. So I'm going to mix it with water, and you'll start to see it, the blues kind of wake up. Especially those who are close to me. See the blue pigments coming out? It's on the side of the cup. Yeah, so the blue pigments are sort of coming out. Yeah, you can sort of see them smeared on the side of the cup. The manufacturer likes to add the water to the cup first and then add the powder. For me, it's hard to gauge then how much powder I need. I have kind of a hard time with that since I eyeball it too. So I like to have the powder in first and then add the water. So it's sort of a preference thing. Mixing your milk paint is a lot like baking. There's a lot of baking analogies where sort of like pancake batter, it's nice to let it sit for a while so that the powder can be absorbed by the water. And you might add more or less water, like I said, depending on the color, and also depending just on the humidity of the day and where you live. Like if you're painting in Alabama, you might need a little less water because the air is so humid, whereas if you're in Colorado, you might need a lot more water because it's so dry there. And this color, I'd say if you're starting out as a beginner, the easier colors are the ones that are sort of middle of the road colors that aren't really dark and aren't really pale. So Eulalie Sky is a pretty easy color to use. This is sort of, it's the closest we have to sort of a robin's egg blue. It's not quite there, pale blue, a little green in it. And milk paint, I'm going to have you guys, you can sort of pass it around a little bit and stir it. It's thinner than traditional paint. So that's going to be the first thing that you need to get used to is that, and just tell yourself like it's just different, it's okay. If it's a little, I can feel a little bit of lumps at the bottom or it's a little bit thinner than other paint. It's okay. It's normal for milk paint. It's not normal for latex paint. So you really can't compare the two. It's not going to feel like a latex or acrylic or a chalk paint, which Sean has demoed later. It's a different consistency, a different texture. Alright, so I'm going to paint this bench. And a little tip when you're painting like chairs or little benches or stools, small pieces, always start with them upside down. So you can paint all the legs with easy access and then flip it over. So that's how I'm going to paint this piece. This one is raw wood, which milk paint is the absolute best paint for raw wood. So if you're like, I want to paint my raw wood floors, what paint should I use? You should use milk paint. If I'm painting a raw wood piece of furniture, raw cabinets, anything like that, the reason is because milk paint will actually soak into the grain of the wood like a stain. So our products, the milk paint, the hemp oil, and the waxes all work like a lotion does on your skin. It absorbs in and becomes a part of that surface. Whereas a lot of modern paints, latex and acrylics and the chalk type paints, those sit on top like a nail polish. So what happens if, eventually nail polish will start to chip and flake off because it's not actually a part of the nail. So that's why milk paint does really well on raw wood. It actually absorbs into the finish. You can mix it thinner with more water to make it a stain, or you can mix it a little bit thicker to have a more opaque finish. So again, there's really, even though we say mix 1 part milk paint to 1 part water, there's really no right or wrong formula. It's whatever your preference is. And what I'm going to do when I get the cup back is I'm actually going to brush it on and see, is it too thin or is it too thick? Sometimes, I mean, I've worked with milk paint so much I can kind of tell if it's good, but sometimes I do need to add a little bit more water. Even add a little bit more water as I go, because as I'm dipping the brush in, it'll pull out, you know, the brush can absorb water easier than it can the paint, so it'll pull out more water and I might need to add some more towards the edge. So you can see it's a lot thinner, right? Okay. And actually this feels just a little bit thick to me. If I was painting a piece that had an existing finish on it, which that's what most of us are painting, right? We're finding the yard sale piece or something on Craigslist, or something we inherited, so it already has a polyurethane finish on it, or maybe it's already been painted. And in that case, I would have it be a little bit thicker. If I'm painting raw wood, I would keep it a little bit thinner. I did not know, since this is raw wood, I don't have to sand it. If you're painting a piece with an existing finish, it depends on the kind of finish, if I would sand it or not. If it has a glossy finish, like let's say a dresser from Ethan Allen, I would sand that. I'd give that a good sanding to take that factory finish off. About what? Particle board. I don't know if I would use milk paint on a piece, because most particle board pieces have some kind of laminated surface. I think for that I would probably go with a paint like a chalk type paint or chalk paint that will actually stick to anything. Because that's not milk paint's strength. Sticking to anything, like painting a plastic table or something, milk paint's not going to do well with that. There's many, many things it does well, and that's just not one. So, I always tell people I have a lot of different paints on my shelf. It's not all milk paint all the time, because there are times when it's perfect, and then there are times when it's not. There's not one paint that does absolutely everything. So, some of the advantages to milk paint is because it's thinner, it's very forgiving when it comes to brush strokes and drips. You can go back and clean up your drips, which you really can't do that with, you certainly can't do that with a latex paint. If you try to do that, it's just faster. You make it worse. And if you try to sand it off, then it all rolls off. So milk paint's really forgiving when it comes to like just being a messy painter. It does have a bit of a learning curve though, which is why we do these demos. And like if you have a retailer near you, a lot of our retailers will teach workshops to show you how to use the milk paint. But I have a lot of videos online on YouTube that you can also watch to sort of walk you through it. Now on the brush, I have a few, like you can see a few little lumps of the paint and all, and that's fine. They're all going to work out as I paint with them. Again, the texture for milk paint is just different. But for those who can see, well, I'll turn it around so everybody's able to see it. But even though it's thin, the coverage is actually really good. People are often surprised. Oops. All right. Okay. Hopefully those. Yeah, so for a piece that already has a finish on it, I would maybe give it a light sanding. And that's not like, I would say it's not like a Bob Vila sanding job. It's not, you're not like removing every little nook and cranny. This is just a, you take your sanding sponge, your sanding sponge or your sandpaper, and just run it across the surface. And what you're doing is just knocking off the shine and giving it to. If you're painting a piece like, can you guys see that old time piece over there in the booth with the sunflowers on it? Or even like those wooden cable spools. If you're painting something like that where there's just not much of a finish on it, you don't need to do anything. You can just paint right away. It's only if you're painting the glossy pieces where it gets tricky. The other thing that you can use to help milk paint adhere better is the bonding agent. And this is a modern product that can be added to this old product to make it work the way we want it to work in the modern day when we're painting pieces that already have a finish on them. Because you have to think about it, the time when milk paint was invented and first used, people were, chopping down a tree and building a hutch. They weren't buying secondhand furniture off of Craigslist. So this will help the paint adhere. It's not gonna, again, going back to the particle board, I don't think I'd paint like a laminate IKEA piece. It's just not the best. Milk paint's not the best. Does anybody want to give milk paint a try? Brush it a little bit? Anybody who's a little intimidated by it? No, she's like, no, I'm fine. I don't need to. Does anybody want to? All right, yeah, come here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just so you can get a feel for it. So to know if you have the consistency right, if the paint is dragging, you're pulling the brush and it just feels like it's fighting you, that means it's too thick. You need to add more water. If it's gritty or grainy or you're ending up with all these colored streaks in it, then it hasn't been mixed enough. You need to mix it more and maybe let it sit for a while. Or, oh, you're doing a beautiful job. So she's got nice little strokes and everything. Yeah, you're doing wonderful.
Probably done over 100 cases.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'm going to give it a try.
Okay, but it's your first time using milk paint?
Yes.
Okay, but you're an experienced painter. So what's nice too is like how she's cutting in along this edge here and then ends up with some drips along the side, which that happens to all of us. Oh, it happens to all of us. Yeah.
It just disappeared.
Exactly. You can go back and brush over it again. That's right. Okay. Anybody else want to try brushing it? You want to? Okay. All right. Average drying time. So it depends on the piece, but my goal is to finish this whole piece, hopefully, while we're here. Most of the time, especially with the dresser, by the time I finish on one side, the first side is already dry, and I can go back and put the second coat on right away. And then by the time I'm done with the second coat, I can start distressing it and then do the finishing. So a lot of people are like, how do you finish your pieces so fast? I'm like, well, milk paint dries quickly, and the finishes dry quickly, and I'll show you the finishes too. So you're really able to finish a whole piece in one day if you want to. Now some people, they just want to pace themselves. If you're really ready to plow through and get it done, then you really can, and you can use it that same day. How does it work with brushes? Since it is thinner, it's really forgiving with brush strokes. It's almost self-leveling. Like if you see the pieces that I painted up there, those are all brushed. I don't do rolling or spraying, although you can roll and spray milk paint. But those are just put on with a brush, and you really don't. Sometimes you'll see visual texture, especially if you're painting like white over a darker color. You can see the visual brush strokes, but then if you touch it, you can't feel that. So unless your paint's really thick, you're not going to get brush strokes. So my mom is a super sloppy painter, and so she loves milk paint for that reason, because it's really forgiving. Yeah.
So will that be enough paint to do that whole bench?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah. For a big dresser, I mix maybe about that much paint. A little bit really does go a long way. It's not, the coverage isn't quite as good as like chalk paint. The coverage of chalk paint is like insane. But since this is thinner, it does sometimes require more coats of paint. But yeah, this is just one of those little sample bags. So if you, I brought cobwebs. So if you have a little, and I just put my fingers in. See, but look, I can just go back and fix it. That's great. That's nice. And then you don't see my fingerprints.
It's a sample size.
Yes, this is a sample size. So if you just have a small stool or a little chair or something you just want to paint that's a little accent piece, then you could get the sample size. Now some people get in trouble. They're like, I think I can get away with a sample